Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 336. Bowser Goes Karting. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Sam and Eddie, who are both back from a stag or a bachelor party, as you'd call it in the States. Looking refreshed, I might say. I'm surprised. I thought there was going to be some lost voices, some puffy eyes, some puffy face looks, but overall pretty good.
Puffy faces.
Yeah, I get what he's saying.
Oh, as opposed to being stung by like multiple bees or something.
Well, no, like when you've been drinking hard for a few days, you definitely get
You
the
look
puffy.
soft.
Oh, you go red. You go red as well. Like you get that red glow to you.
Well, that's certain.
We drank a decent amount, and we didn't sleep a lot. I would say last night I was tired. Like I drifted in and out of sleep.
For you to say you're tired, you guys must have not gotten any sleep. Because if there's one infuriating thing about Eddie, it's after a night of drinking, Eddie is trying to push in on my living room sleeping experience by like 9 a.m. trying to wake me up.
No, I was pretty. I mean, I guess we were running on an average of probably 4 hours, maybe 5 on one of the nights. So it was tiring because there was stuff to do every morning, and then we were staying up late. And last night during Monday Night Football, I was drifting in and out of sleep during that Chiefs-Giants game. Not helped by the fact that the game wasn't very good. I think if I'd been watching high-quality football, I might have been able to stay awake for most of it. But no, it was good fun. It was good fun. And obviously it was the bachelor party or stag do of friend of the podcast, Jake. It was nice. Hadn't seen him in, 18 months at this point. So it was nice to just catch up and obviously with the pandemic actually be able to see people. Got a little bit of sport in, so that was good. We had a round of golf. We're supposed to be 2, but pulled out of the second round, and go-karting. So that was interesting.
So Frank, how do you think I did? Yeah, I was going to say, let's talk about the golf, and then you can kind of assess how I did, how Jake did,
okay,
and the overall sentiment of the golf quality.
Yeah, I'm interested, one, in Jake, who the bachelor party was for, having to tee off on the first hole in front of everyone. That I'm very interested in seeing how that went, and I really hope he ripped it down the middle.
He didn't.
Come on, Jake.
His first tee shot went out of bounds. It wasn't. It wasn't horrific, but it wasn't good. If you see what I mean, like wasn't just.
What was the reaction from Jake?
I think he knew it was
wasn't
coming.
One.
Yeah, I think it was just
kind of wasn't one.
It was just kind of an acceptance of the fact that that probably wasn't going to go well. His second one was decent though, so he at least got away from the tee box. It wasn't like just never-ending story of failure. So his second one
wasn't just like, let's just drop it in the fairway.
Yeah, I mean, I have a video. Of his first tee shot, and actually, it's kind of disappointing because I'm from the side, and you can tell kind of from his reaction that it's not good, but because he actually made okay contact, you can't really tell that it's bad. Like so.
Yeah.
The video itself, that's the only thing that really disappointed me from the weekend, is that I just didn't get a video that clearly showed him hitting it out of bounds.
Just set him up.
And what about Sam's opening drive?
Didn't go very far. I'm trying to picture what happened. Did you go out of bounds? No, you went out of bounds, I think, on your first, and then your second was all right.
Yeah, but not far out of bounds. It kind of just went to the side, and I couldn't find it basically, but it didn't clear any of the it was kind of near the hazard sticks without finding it, but I was pretty happy with it. Not that one. I mean, you can't be happy with one hitting the hazard sticks, but the second one was okay.
Yeah. No, it was. Sam's golf was all right. He came into this obviously not having played a lot. He and I were against each other. It was Ryder Cup format, 2 teams, and We were on opposing teams. We were an odd number, so I was playing by myself against Sam and another player. And in the end, I won by 2
You
holes.
you didn't want to call him a player.
No, I did.
Another human with golf clubs.
Well, I was trying to. I was. I was going to say person, Anyway, but and it was kind of a similar situation. None of us had played a lot of golf recently. Particularly, is not really a golfer, and then also hadn't played recently. So, I mean, I think he shot around 160 to 170.
Oof.
So it was really me and Sam against each other. He did have maybe the other guy had like 2 okay holes. Most of his holes were 10 plus. He had he had the ability to hit the ball well. So every once in a while he strung a couple together, but
yeah,
particularly off the tee, he struggled. At one moment he took, I think, 8 tee shots on the hole. And I think the combined distance was maybe 8 yards. So it wasn't he was hitting it out of bounds. He was like just glancing them and air shotting them. It was.
Yeah. Eddie, what was your longest drive?
I had 2 good ones. I had one into the wind, which I really nailed. A par 4. It was like a 400-yard par 4, and I managed to get, with the wind coming hard directly into us, I managed to get pin high on 2, which I was legitimately really pleased with. But then I probably my longest one, I probably had one that was around 300, but I didn't really hit the ball very well.
Ooh,
there was some
disappointing.
There were some good shots in there though. Like there was a water hole where there was water on the right, and Eddie, basically already saying this is going clean in the water, proceeds to play a beautiful straight drive over the water, as in this is wide right, the water. So he proceeds to hit it onto the other golf onto the other hole, and then proceeds to like top it about 10 yards, I think, next time, and proceeds to make the loudest tree hitting noise I've heard.
No. So I stood in the tee box and I said, this has water written all over it, because I tend to fade the ball anyway. Like my natural, even if I'm hitting the ball well off the tee, I'm fading it normally. And then the wind was coming left to right. So it's like, even if I control this, I was definitely not confident enough to try and draw it, because that wasn't working at all. So it's like, I have to do what I do naturally. It's like, even if I hit a good one, the wind's going to take it with it, and the water. So I was like, I stood there, I was like, this has water written all over it. And then hit it and was like, that's in the water. And in the end, it got just a little further right on the opposite fairway, but with a clean view. And I walked up with my 5-iron. I left my bag on the other side. I was like, oh, this has actually worked out pretty well. I have a nice angle into the green. And then proceeded to just top the ball, and it went 10 yards. And then at that point, I'd given myself no angle, and I just had a bunch of trees in front of me, but my bag was maybe 30 to 35 yards away from me on the other side of the water, and I couldn't be bothered to go and walk and get my pitching wedge, which is I should have at that point just laid up. So I was like, I'm going to go for the miracle 1 in 1,000 shot that I can now get a lot of loft on my 5-iron and kind of fade it around these trees. And then this time I absolutely nailed it, but just straight into the trees. It was like, well, that's lost. So kind of ruined my score on that hole, but I knew it was coming. And then we had the go-karting, which was, I think, one of the most physically challenging tests most people involved in the stag had ever had to endure.
Now, yes, this is what I want the clarification on. What kind of go-karting are we talking about? What was the speed? What was the size of the car? What was the track?
So it was a 2-story track. So you had to go up a ramp and you got onto a second level. And the top level was like mostly straights. It was where you were going to do your overtaking and really get speed. The bottom level was a lot of tight turns. The carts were pretty big. I don't know what speed they got to, but it was pretty quick.
Yeah,
I mean,
no idea.
They definitely weren't. They weren't like children's go-karts. Like you were able to get up to a decent speed. We didn't really. Okay. They never told us how fast you could go. But it was really hot. I can speak for myself and say that we'd obviously been up late on the Friday night, and this was Saturday morning. And I quickly drank a bottle of water before we went in, but that was the only liquid I had consumed in the morning. So I was probably dehydrated going into it. and then putting myself in a jumpsuit and a balaclava and gloves and a helmet in an
You had
enclosed
to put yourself in a
space.
jumpsuit and a helmet?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Requirement. And with all of that, and then in
Why
an
is the
enclosed space,
jumpsuit a requirement? What
Just
is that
aesthetic.
protecting you from?
fire. I don't know.
Aesthetic. It's aesthetically pleasing. But yeah.
Yeah, they're just
But it
laughing at you
was
as you're drenched in sweat.
it was so hot. And I remember we did like a practice / qualifying where you're gonna try and set your best time and then figure out where you're gonna start on the grid. So that was 10 minutes. And I remember we finished that and I was not feeling good. Like I felt super dehydrated and there was no break. You just stopped and then they were telling you where to go on the grid. And I remember Jake was next to me and it was very loud, but I was trying to say to him, like, it's so hot. I just had to keep screaming. And I genuinely at that moment had to run through my head. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I had just told myself I've got to. Like, I'll keep going. If I faint in this go-kart, I'm going to do it. And then we started this race, which was a 30-minute race. Basically, a lap took 30 minutes. A lap took a minute, and it was and whenever the winner had completed 30 laps, the race was over. And it was grueling. I did not feel good. By the end of it, I was mentally and physically exhausted to the point that I did not care if people overtook me on the final couple of laps. I think 6 people gave up over the course of the race. I was in last place of the people still on the track, and the only reason I kept going was I knew that I wouldn't finish dead last as long as I literally just stayed out there. But I don't know how you felt, Sam, but it was not
I
pleasant.
I mean, it was also just a realization that you got these moments in the race where you thought like this isn't comfortable, and then you realized it had only been like 6 minutes, and then you started to lose concept of time, and you realized I'm just going round tight corners getting shunted, and this is becoming really demanding. And then I
So who
remember
won?
um Quick.
Yeah, I
Any
think
of
so.
you?
Guy
The
who's
guy's name
Steve.
was Quick. Oh my
yeah,
God! No
his
wonder
Surname.
you
last.
won.
Oh,
Come
oh,
on.
we've all got lads' names. Like,
I mean, here's
so
the thing, right? Is with go karting, weight is going to decide a lot of it right from the start.
Frank,
So
remembering
you're
the
fucked.
I knew
There's
going
an
into it.
uphill ramp that basically Eddie is like Bowser in Mario Kart, and you've got
I
people
was thinking
going
the
up.
same thing. I was just picturing Eddie as Bowser, like trying to
There
You've
like
were-
got
go up the
people going
ramp.
past as like Toad or Peach, like, but obviously Eddie
Jake
on the
is Peach.
downhill is like people
well,
died on the down.
there were 2 of us, where 2 guys who we were kind of both knew going into it, he and I, based on size, that we just had no chance. And then we did accept that we were Bowser and Donkey Kong, and then our only and I
Were you
had
driving by? As you drove by?
Oh, there was
and I
little
mean
boxes everywhere that gave you stuff as well. It was great.
the only frustrating thing is it was like a no bumping rule. They wanted you to drive, and I did the karting in July where they were super strict. Like if you ever tried to, like they were treating you like you're a Formula One driver. If there was not space for you, or you were trying to cut someone else off, or you weren't holding your line, you were getting pulled off. Well, not pulled off, but told to stop racing.
I told to stop racing. It was a really weird French quirk.
Yeah. But in this one, they told us not to do that. I got a warning for bumping midway through the race, which really annoyed me because people were just ramming into me. The guy who was towards the end of the race, the guy who we had decided I was in some combination, we were Bowser and Donkey Kong. I was just holding him off with him behind me. And then we came to a turn. He just decided he wasn't going to stop and he was going to use the back of my cart as the only way to slow down. And it gave me I bounced out of the seat. Like it did not feel good. but
No, I think
it was fun, but it
I
was tough.
grueling. No, it's grueling. Grueling is the word. It was an endurance thing going on. I think I finished fourth.
Something like 4th or
It was
5th.
fourth or
Yeah, you did
fifth.
all right. Yeah.
So
I
I did
mean,
all right. But again, it's one of those things where I was bumped at a couple of points, but I never had to like raise the hand to say that I had spun round. If you
well,
spun round, you're not coming anywhere near.
this is what annoyed me too. So you've got the marshals standing at like key points. So if you crash into the barriers, they come and pull because you can't reverse. They come and pull you away so you can do this, and they were pretty quick usually. At one moment, a guy crashed me into a barrier. It took him 90 seconds probably to come over and get me while I was just waving my hand in the air. And he came up and he apologized. Like, sorry, it's hard to see you in that position. Well, I mean, I guess, but this
What
is
do you
your
mean
job.
facing the wrong way?
Yeah, trapped on a corner. But it did give me, I know we like to discuss my levels of confidence for ability to do things. Midway through the race, I thought to myself, this gives me even more respect for Formula One drivers because of how like hot they obviously are, and also how just physically and mentally sapping it is in a way that you don't really think about until you're there and you're having to look all around you at all times. But then I thought to myself, yeah, but they have water that they can drink during the race. So maybe what I'm doing is more challenging.
I love all the while you're in like this car that's going maybe like, I don't know, 20, 25 mile an hour. I don't know actually how fast it was in the context, but you've been beard up in a machine that can like devastate lives. Like I'm pretty sure Lewis Hamilton probably has a better experience, but it was quite funny all of us
Oh,
showing our age, right?
I'm pretty
Because
sure he has a better. I'm pretty sure Lewis Hamilton
really,
has better experience. Yeah, I think that's not a bold statement, Sam.
I don't know, Eddie, you did have a bottle of water. Um,
Yes.
it was funny all of us showing our age though, because nearer as the end of the race got kind of closer and closer, or the time limit got closer and closer, whenever you got to like near where the pit was, I guess where it ended, it more and more people were like kind of on the edge from our group, and I was thinking to myself like, oh, it's nearly over, it's nearly over. And when I asked all of them what happened, they were like, "Oh, bad back, so I had to come in," or like, "Oh, my sides really hurt." I was like, "Wow, this is endurance. This is physical
But
peak
to
fitness."
me, but that was the thing to me. That wasn't the issue. To me, the issue was purely heat. Like that was it. Like it wasn't an uncomfortable. And look, I think I was in as uncomfortable a position as most people because fundamentally those go karts are not meant for people over 6 foot tall. I mean, it's not. My knees were touching either side of the steering wheel. Like it was turning was limited at times because I literally just didn't have the ability to move my hands as much as I needed to. So, but to me, it was the heat, and I was just so. I mean, there were moments where as we were going round, I was pulling my helmet down just so my mouth was exposed, so I could actually try and get some fresh air in. But it was still fun. Challenging in a way I hadn't expected it to be. But yeah, the rest of the evening it was a lot of. I think Ollie and I played out the lowest quality snooker that's ever been seen. That was fun.
Lowest quality, not lowest score.
Combined, I think you could have said either one.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
combined.
Sam and Jake witnessed a sizable chunk of it, and it was not good. I mean, it was painful to take part in, let alone watch. And then yeah, the Saturday night we went out drinking. Jake was in his outfit that had been chosen for him, which was a sort of skin tight black turtleneck, a silver chain, some like kind of capri pants, and sandals. It was an interesting look. He, had fun. It was a good night out drinking. Then Sam and I got back after the rest of them.
So
And
his outfit, I saw a pic of it.
yeah,
Was the top half supposed to look like Dwayne Johnson back in the day with the black turtleneck and the necklace? Because that's what it looked like.
a little bit, yeah. So I think the origin story is that
People used to confuse him for The Rock.
yes. But
Hey, did you star in that new Jumanji?
Oh God, this again.
Can you
No, I'm
smell
not
what
Jack
the Jake
Black.
is cooking? But I think the origin story is that within his group of friends, they like to prank each other and make up, like, plan evenings where they say it's going to be, like, there's going to be a theme, and then they lie to one of the people within the group about what the theme is, and then they'll go as far as, like, creating fake Facebook groups where everyone participates, saying how much they're looking forward to that theme, and then one person turns up in a costume that doesn't match what everyone else is in. And I think one night they told Jake that it was turtlenecks and chains. And so he'd gone out and bought himself a black turtleneck and a chain and worn it out. But the thing that was embarrassing for him, from what I can understand, is that he'd gone out and spent quite a lot on his turtleneck, and then told them the logic was that he was considering maybe having turtlenecks as part of his overall look and wardrobe in the future. So he thought it was worthwhile to buy an expensive one.
He went all Steve Jobs.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then saw how it worked out for Steve Jobs and canceled that.
Oh, you think Jake's gonna get cancer?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
No, that's why he canceled.
Because for the most part, things worked out for Steve Jobs pretty well up until the cancer part. Like, life went pretty well for him, and the adoption bit.
So and then what about like the sweatpants and the? I'll tell you what. And everything would have been okay. I would have not had an issue. The sandals with the socks and the typo sandals that they were, that one would have been like a deal breaker.
So they were kind of like,
I hate those sandals.
Yeah, it was awful because they also make that noise where they like split,
squish.
like they made a against the so it was awful.
Yeah. So I guess to explain it, it's the sandals that have like the Velcro straps,
like Tevas would be the dominant brand. If you're American, and if you're a child of the 90s, you will have owned Tevas. They were basically Tevas.
Oof. With socks.
Yes, with rainbow, like, tie-dye socks. Yeah, and I think that was also the issue for him there, was it was raining at times, so the sandals were not ideal. It was kind of cold, so the sandals also were not ideal. And I also think this the concept of like going into public bathrooms in sandals is not a nice thought. So I think, that was the part of the outfit that was the worst. But yeah, he got pretty drunk, and when Sam and I arrived home, he wasn't in the kitchen when we were kind of all talking, and then he came out, and it's hard to describe the image that I saw looking at his face, but his eyes were just red and puffy and water everywhere. I mean, it looked like he'd been.
Are you sure it was water?
Yeah, it looked like he'd been crying for hours, but just like not even just under his eyes, also like on his eyelids, there was just water. It was just like his eyes had been watering just so much.
Basically crying upwards.
Yes. And then I was like, Jake, what happened to you? And he said, I've just been throwing up. Like, out of your eyes? And he didn't look great, but he recovered. I mean, he seemed overall not to suffer too much. I think with that, the constant theme across the group was maybe if the things organized, not that it was a bad thing, but if the things organized for the morning hadn't always been so early, so you could have got a little bit, like 1 to 2 hours more of sleep, then the way the weekend work would have actually been very easy to manage.
Well, that's the issue with golf on a bachelor party, right? Golf is an early activity, so it really limits. I mean, you have to either be super invested that you're just pretty much going to drink the whole night, not really sleep even, and then just kind of go out and play. Because once you hit that fine line of you're in a deep sleep and then you have to get up at 6, 7 a.m. after a night of drinking, it's rough.
Yeah, and I think Sam and I pretty much committed to the idea that and Ollie too, we just kind of kept things going. Sam and I were sharing a bed, so it was a double bed, but not that big of a double bed.
Wow, where's the spoiler on that?
It was not a big double bed.
No. And then things got even more interesting on the Saturday night when we came home from a club with Sam, Ollie and I arrived home drunk together, and Ollie, who had been sleeping on a sofa, asked if he could also sleep in our bed. So on Saturday night, the three of us shared a bed. And I'll put it yes.
Yes.
And I'll say this, with 3 of us in the bed, it was basically, if we lied just dead still, you didn't touch, but as soon as you moved, you were touching someone. And
So
I'm not
Frank,
saying that
which
in a
way do
bad
you
way,
think
but
the sleeping arrangement was? Like, where did you think people were in the bed? Like left, middle, right?
Oh, Sam, you're absolutely in the middle.
Correct.
You didn't even have to ask that because I already knew that image.
but I will say Saturday night was the best sleep I got over the course of that weekend. So, you know,
We're learning about Eddie.
Sam's like a little furnace. Oh, wow. That sounds like an interesting bachelor party.
yeah, no, it was good, and also got to watch. Then on the Sunday we got back to London. We went to went to a
Oh, yeah.
bar.
How was the place you went? Did they
I
have like
thought it was.
all the games up and stuff?
They had their main coverage was the red zone, and then they had a lot of
Perfect.
screens, but it was red zone, and then there was one like the main game of the night was going on at the same time. But
That's fine though, as long as you have red zone.
We were
It's a
just
good bar.
watching red zone.
And the bar was good, though.
Yeah.
Like fun bar to watch it.
Yeah.
A lot of Americans watching NFL.
No. It was the standard random groups of English people in a random assortment of
Jacksonville
NFL
Jaguars.
jerseys.
Oh, who was it who was it in front of us? It was Packers, Dolphins.
In front of
Patriots.
us we had a group of 6 people sitting. One of them was in a Rodgers jersey. One of them was in a Tua jersey.
Burn that one.
Yeah.
Bad investment.
But yeah, it was just it's that weird kind of overall vibe.
Yeah.
But the bar was nice. I mean, you'll definitely, when we go to Ascot, it will definitely be a place that we go to watch sports. It's good. Sweet. And today or yesterday, I guess. No, it was today I came back. Today coming back, I went through Vauxhall, obviously, to get back. And every time I go through Vauxhall, I just get the strong Royal Ascot vibes, just because obviously we've stayed there on multiple occasions. And when I got off to change trains, I definitely had that. Oh, so close to where some of the best weeks of my life have happened.
Now, did any of you go to King's Cross? Did you change through there?
Well, I mean, I took the Eurostar.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Did you check and see if the pie man is still there? The pie guy?
Oh, no, because it was at night, and then today was in the morning. But we did go to the Big Chill, the origin of our name. Sam and I on last Wednesday got drinks at the Big Chill. But the nighttime vibe at the Big Chill is very different to the daytime vibe.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Very different atmosphere.
It is night and day. Both literally and figuratively. Now, I do have a story from my travel aspect of it, because on the day going out, there was a bomb scare at the station. So it was just carnage there in terms of like trains were being canceled.
You can't say that. You can't say there was a bomb scare. There was carnage.
All right, not the kind of carnage.
There was just bodies everywhere, just limbs hanging off the lampposts.
Okay, not actual bomb
on the
carnage,
lighter side. On the lighter side of Eddie's journey, 40 dead in car.
Yeah. And I turned up, and it kind of ended up working out well for me in some respects, because basically what they did was they canceled all of the scheduled Eurostars, and then they were just filling them and sending them. And because I got to the station 2 hours early, I ended up getting on a train that was actually earlier than I was expected to get on. So that didn't work out badly, but I got my ticket, and I got my rescheduled ticket. It was all first come, first serve. People lose their minds as soon as that gets said. As soon as the announcement was made, hey, all scheduled trains are canceled. You are guaranteed a ticket, but is now first come, first serve. You have to go to a place, and they will reassign you a ticket on an upcoming train. People lose. It's like it's the last chopper out of Vietnam. All of a sudden, people are sprinting, like bumping into each other. Even then, so that was not pleasant. And people, it's fascinating to watch, because you just watch families just disintegrate in front of your eyes, and couples, like the amount of couples you saw. Always the dynamic was the man shouting at the woman for not being fast enough or holding him up or whatever. I mean,
Was it
it's
just
just,
you? Was it just you shouting at random women?
yeah. Why are you holding me back? But I mean, literally at one
Get
moment
out
I
of
was
my way.
standing in the, literally at one moment I was standing and it was just a boyfriend and girlfriend. And the guy said, "You said you'd be fucking 5 minutes. That was 6 fucking minutes. Now we're not going to get on the train we wanted to get on." It's just like, just rage. And then I get my reassigned ticket. I go into the business lounge. I walk in and I said, like, "Hey, it doesn't tell me what time this train is leaving. Do you still come and tell me when the train goes?" The guy working says, "Yes." And I said, "I have one additional question, which is, do you know if the trains are running at the same speed or are they delayed? So just because I'm trying to tell someone in London when he needs to meet me." And he just looks at me and goes, "I'm not the driver."
It's such a good comeback.
And I was like, "I understand that you're not the driver, but I thought as you work for Eurostar, you might have a sense of as to whether these are delays. And now it's a case of the questions are running at full speed, the trains are running at full speed, but they're just not running as frequently. Or are these delays, is there a knock-on effect from these delays?" And he just went, "I have no idea." And so then I get onto the train and I ask the person, one of the people working on the train, the exact same question. And he says, "Oh, I can't possibly predict what time we'll arrive." And I was like, "Yeah, but you must have a sense of," I was like, "I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm not going to get angry if you're wrong. I just want to be able to send a text message to someone and give them a ballpark figure. Is there a chance this takes 2.5 to 3 hours, or is this going to take 4 to 5 hours?" And he said, "Oh, I couldn't possibly tell you, sir." And I was like, just give me an idea. You must have a sense of what we're dealing with here." He said, No, I can't make the prediction." It was such a frustrating moment of just, I get it. You don't want to tell people it's going to be 3 hours and then people start getting angry when it's 3.5. But in this instance, it was like, just help me out. But in the end, it was all fine. But people, when you watch things go wrong for people when they travel, it is when you see the true character of humanity.
Oh yeah. You want a good snapshot of America? Go to an airport.
And actually, that was the other bit. I got on, and so I had my ticket, but you didn't have an assigned seat in the business section. But obviously, there weren't going to be more people on the train than there were supposed to be. So it wasn't, you didn't have to like fight for a seat. But I got on, and then there were only 4s available when I got on. It's sort of the four seaters, and I didn't really want to sit in a 4-seater with random people. But there was one handicap seat, and I said to the guy, "Can I sit here?" And obviously, if a disabled person gets on, I'll get up. Or would you like me to just not sit there at all and to leave it unoccupied? And he goes, "Oh, no, you can sit there. And if you want to, if someone gets on who needs it, then just get up and take another seat. But it's your risk because maybe there's a better seat now than you'll get if you get forced up at the last minute." And I was like, "It's a bet I'm willing to make. I'll take my chances." I sit down. He's sitting there, and then you hear, like, how they have to drop down that ramp so that someone in a wheelchair can get on. You start hearing that noise, and then he looks at me, and again, a line that probably didn't come out the way he would have wanted it to. He just looks at me and goes, "They're coming." And I got up.
Maybe it's just a ruse because he wanted the seat. Maybe he
No.
activated the wheelchair ramp.
I saw the person who got on. They
Did you
needed this.
did you
They
look at
needed the
them and
additional
try and
space.
assess? Okay, so you assessed them to whether they needed the space or not.
They were in a wheelchair, so they needed the additional space. I'm not. I wasn't going to challenge anyone on how disabled they were, but certainly this was obvious. They definitely needed that seat. But yeah, fun weekend, and obviously, we got to watch the NFL on Sunday, and I guess maybe we can jump into our reaction there because the big excitement from a betting perspective, I think the Bengals probably ruined just about everyone's bets. I think the world just lost on a number of combinations of like money line parlays or accumulators or whatever anyone is doing. I think probably most people have had the Bengals in there at some point. Obviously, Sam,
Yeah.
as a Bengals fan, he was more invested in the game, watching a Bengals game with him, which was dominating red zone, obviously because of it being a
Yeah,
close
because of
game
the
and like,
story.
yeah. Sam was much more invested than I thought. There was fist bumps going on when first downs were being picked up and things.
Fisting
It was
or fist
interesting.
bumps?
You
Both,
know what he
but
said.
I was only
It's
watching the bumps.
I thought he said
yeah.
fist ups. I thought he said.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was enjoying it because obviously we didn't get there to watch like near the start part, but you know they were on that comeback. What they got it back to like 31-20. Burrow was throwing well, and then all of a sudden, these Jets, they like picking a team that's on a good roll, don't they? And taking them down. Bengals, Titans. No, it was a really bad throw of the game.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
just, yeah.
they played poorly. I will say the talking point though is the unnecessary roughness helmet hit call that gave the
Yeah,
They're
Jets the
lowering the
first down when they would have stopped
they're
them,
lowering the helmet.
which
it's
is,
dumb.
I mean, we've talked about this regularly, where if you're a defender and you're going low to hit someone, and then that defender puts their head down, how on earth can that be a penalty on the defensive player? And I think at a point, if the NFL is actually serious about these helmet to helmets, they need to start enforcing it the other way, because you never see a call on the offensive player, especially running backs do it a lot. Well, they'll put their head down and they will use their head to drive through someone. And that is equally dangerous from the standpoint of you using your head to go through someone versus a defender trying to use their head to knock you down. It's the same thing. And that should have been on the Jets player and not on the defender. That was a terrible call. What does it cost them the game? Tough to say. They should have been winning anyway. They
Oh,
did not play well enough up to that point, but it certainly, gets them the ball back and gives them a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm torn on the. So I as to who's initiating the contact, I think in this instance it was pretty clear it's the offensive player. They're both lowering their helmets. So I guess the argument you could say, which you do in a lot of sports, right, is it's a mistake from both players' perspective because you're giving the officials the chance to call it against you. I think that's the risk. So even if you were a Bengals, like if you're the Bengals defensive coordinator, you'd walk away from that and say, hey, look, maybe you were hard done by, but if you're going to open the door to the possibility of being called for it, you've done that. Like, I agree with you. They have to call both. In that particular instance, I would have felt like the appropriate call is probably offsetting penalties and replay the down to me, just because both players have lowered their helmets. And if you really want to take it seriously, then in that instance, maybe you're ejecting both players and saying offsetting penalties and replay third down. But it definitely seems unfair that it continuously is just called on the defensive team. And I 100% agree with you. It's not as if it's any more damaging when a defensive player does it than when an offensive player does it. The risk is exactly the same. And if anything, in some respects, you could argue sometimes maybe it's more dangerous when the offensive player is doing it because it's much more likely then that he is a moving object coming into a stationary one. So in some respects, you're more likely for them to be able to kind of plow through and be less damaged than the person they're inflicting the damage upon will be. But it was surprising. And obviously the storyline too, for the Bengals, it feels a little bit as if it was 2 or 3 steps backwards after such a good performance against the Ravens. So it kind of started to put themselves into are they legitimate, I'm not going to say Super Bowl contenders, but a playoff threat, certainly. To then this felt like, well, now where do we put them? Because they've lost to a pretty bad Jets team. And then obviously from the Jets' perspective, it's opened a can of worms from a QB controversy standpoint because you have a very high draft pick who was highly thought of coming into the season who hasn't performed well. And then you have a totally unheard of player who steps in, gets his first NFL start, throws for over 400 yards, becomes the first Jets player since the year 2000 to have over 400 yards, catches a touchdown. Overall, just seemed to be a much more charismatic, leader than you've seen from Wilson so far, and just opens a whole bunch of questions of, and we've discussed it before with, you felt sorry for Wilson, that he was kind of a victim of circumstance in such a bad team, and then now you start to think, is the team a victim of circumstance that they had such a bad quarterback?
Yeah. Okay. It's not a good look for Wilson, but it's a one game. It's a very small sample size, right? I think White is definitely going to play next week because Wilson's still out. So you'll get at least a sample size of 2. If he goes out again and puts up that kind of performance, then you do have to start questioning, was it Wilson just not, the system not being good, or was it him just not doing great? And it is not a good look though for him. And I think if you're him, you're sitting back there kind of thinking, maybe I got to get my ass in gear a little bit here and put out a good performance when I come back. But I mean, you don't give up on your number 2 pick overall that quickly, but it makes you question a little bit.
It does. And I agree with you. If he goes out on Thursday night and plays really well against another pretty good team in the Colts, then it creates real issues, because it's also not as if he was coming out. He won't have had 2 good performances against the Dolphins and the Jags. He'll have done it against, you expect the Bengals to make the playoffs. There's a good chance the Colts make the playoffs too. So if you have those performances against pretty good teams and pretty good defenses, I mean, you're talking about a Bengals defense that looked good against the Ravens and then couldn't stop him to save their lives. So it'll be interesting to see.
What did the Jets do about that though? Because you're going to nearly halfway through the season, you start thinking about kind of how many losses you've got relative to the picks you've got. So do they kind of think, have we found a gem that we had no idea about in a second starter quarterback, and play and maybe win some more games and get a bad pick? Or do you keep going with Wilson knowing that there was some semblance of talent that you saw there and maybe keep losing and get better picks? Like but you gamble on more of his future?
Well,
than
either way,
Sam,
it's not like they're still going to string 8 wins together. Like they're going to get,
of course. And if they did, I mean, they're doing well. Like,
I don't know how you feel, because I mean, I guess it depends what you've seen behind the scenes. If they feel like what he did on Sunday is something they have seen in practice, and so they think maybe it's kind of legitimate, then you hope that he goes out and continues it and think, maybe we have Tom Brady and we have this guy who no one really thought of, and he, but you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
But if that seemed like the anomaly, then I think if you're Robert Saleh or if you're the Jets GM, I think secretly you're probably hoping that on Thursday night he goes out and has an absolute stinker.
I think we revisit this after Thursday night's game, and you'll have a much better picture for that. Now, Eddie, you said that the Bengals pretty much ruined everyone's bets, but there was one interesting bet placed over this weekend where someone in Atlantic City bet $1,000 on Mike White to be the leading passer yards for this week in the NFL. And the odds were 125 to 1. So $1,000 to win 125,000. What's interesting is there's actually some backstory about this, which makes it a pretty good talking point. So first off podcast, we had talked about, are those odds too short? Are they right? What do you think? He wasn't the worst in that category. He was actually 4th worst. Behind him were Justin Fields, Davis Mills, and Case Keenum. Case Keenum didn't even play, so I guess that one gets voided out. But he was not the worst one on that list, which is, I guess, slightly surprising. But when you think about the Jets are probably going to be down the whole game, you think he's probably going to throw a lot, so maybe he can accumulate. So 125 to 1. He placed the bet because he was visiting his family in Atlantic City, who lives near Atlantic City, and then was going to the game on Sunday. So he said he went to Atlantic City and just put on a bet that he thought was a really long odds bet that would be something kind of crazy he could cheer for when he was at the Jets game watching. So that's why he put it on. It doesn't say this rich man says this, but I mean, it doesn't.
Steve Jobs.
I'm sure he is not super hurting for money, but it seemed like he thought instead of putting like 500 on the Jets to cover. He'd rather just go for like a crazy bet to strike gold.
What I'll say about that is he either is hopefully doing very well for himself, so he's in a situation where he can just lose the $1,000 and not feel it, or he has a real gambling problem. And
I think it's the first one.
I think it's more likely the second one.
Well, from the way it sounded like he kind of was just going to the game and he said, I wanted to be fun, to have something to root for while I was there. The Jets are so terrible, I figured they'd be behind the whole game and have to throw the ball a bunch, so it seemed like an okay bet. Now,
wait, maybe, but it's easy to say that when it happens, right?
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing you would say if someone asked you to explain your logic, no matter what your logic had been, because you're never going to be able to sit there with a straight face and say, I saw it coming.
Do you think at any point when you put that $1,000 on for 125 to 1, do you go around telling people and say it's a dumb bet, or do you wait until the realization that it could come in and then start going to people like, guys, I may have something here. I may have something here, and start semi-gloating like, I knew it because of this. I thought that was going to happen. Like, how do you?
I wouldn't say I put a stupid bet. I would say like I just put a crazy bet on.
I think you say exactly what he just said, and you're a real asshole if you're privately telling people, no, I knew it would happen, and their public message is, I just was doing it for a little bit of fun. But I think you just say what you say, and I think you probably don't really tell people about it until it looks like it has a chance. Yeah. Like at the beginning of the game, people have been like, well, that's just dumb. Like, why didn't you just give me $1,000? I mean, it must suck for that casino, because I bet you that market probably doesn't have enough liquidity. Not that casinos struggle, right? But they probably lost money on that market.
Yeah. So now here's the other interesting part of this. Monday afternoon, before the Monday night game, where you have Daniel Jones and Patrick Mahomes still potentially able to beat Mike White's passing yards, he put the ticket
Patrick Mahomes,
sorry.
Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is never going to throw for 400 yards, even against that terrible Chiefs defense.
Well,
I guess you could say that you would have said the same thing about White. But
yeah. He put the ticket up for sale on Prop Swap, which is a secondary market where pending wagers can be bought and sold. His initial asking price was $120,000. So he went for $5,000 under. Apparently the top bid was $70,000 is what they were willing to get. So he had basically a physical cash out offer of $70,000.
Do you take it?
That's my
knowing
question.
Mahomes, is like you say,
knowing the game.
Saying,
exactly.
Would
knowing
Mahomes hit 400 plus yards? I wouldn't. I just feel like, actually, no. You know what? I would. Knowing Mahomes, for kind of the opposite reason for knowing Mahomes as the QB over the past 3 or 4 years, as opposed to knowing Mahomes over the last 4 or 5 games.
Can you please stop saying knowing Mahomes? You have said knowing Mahomes 6 times in the space of 10 seconds.
So how many times do you think Mahomes has thrown for 400 or more yards in a game?
This season or in his career?
In his career. In his professional career, not college.
I'd say 3 or 4.
5.
And I'd say this season 0.
Yeah, so he's thrown for 5 times in his life.
And so, to me, the fact that this season, I wouldn't have been worried about it, to be perfectly honest. I would have felt, I think I probably hedge it slightly just with personal bets. Like, I maybe do 1,000 on Mahomes over 400 yards. What I would have done was try and hedge it with a way where you could win both. So I'd have looked at whatever the over-under for Mahomes' yards were predicted for that game. Say,
it was 302.
Okay, so I would have taken the over on the 302 and then hoped, in a perfect world, I'm going to get 350 yards from Mahomes, and I win both of these.
So Eddie is correct. Mahomes has not thrown for 300 this season. He threw for 397 against Washington.
Now imagine it had been that game. How nervous would that have if you were coming down to like the final drive being like Mahomes just needs 7 more yards to beat me. That would have been awful.
You're just rooting for, I think at that point you're just rooting for pass interference. You'd rather they just get like 60-yard pass interference than completions. Now, alternatively, Eddie,
on that note, I guess we can.
You want to rip on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has thrown for 400 yards this season, so he would have been your worry this season.
Sure, he wouldn't have been though. But yeah, I mean, I guess that I think the Chiefs and the Bengals are really the two big talking points from. I think the Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Patriots, because I think the Patriots win against the Chargers. I mean, I've doubted the Chargers all year, right? I do think the Patriots are showing themselves to be a pretty capable team. Like you'd think at this point they're probably going to put themselves in a position to make the playoffs, and if they make the playoffs, they're not going to be an easy out. But the Bengals and the Chiefs were the big talking points. The Chiefs, I mean, I had them as my survivor pick. The Bengals were the overwhelmingly the most popular survivor pick. It took out basically 200 people from my survivor. So that was awesome. And then I had to sweat out the Monday Night Football, which, I mean, the Chiefs, there were multiple moments in that game where it felt like I kept thinking to myself, you kind of flip back to thinking it was the old Chiefs and you thought, okay, this game's over. Like they would get a stop and then you're like, okay, they're going to go drive. For example, when they got the field goal to put themselves 3 points ahead, there was a moment where you're like, well, they're going to score a touchdown here. And that's pretty much game over. And then they just end up with a field goal. And then you think, well, they should be able to get a stop anyway to end the game. And you think, well, their defense really sucks. So I don't know if I'd rather be the Giants or the Chiefs right now, but it's hard to explain just how bad they are.
I think it's actually pretty easy to explain. Now, watching a few of these games, I mean, for as much as I love Patrick Mahomes, he does not look good. And I don't mean that in the sense that he's kind of making those crazy throws that maybe he shouldn't. But when you watch the tape, he's missing a lot of open people. I mean, I forget who the announcers were for the Monday Night Football game, but there was multiple times where they're like, oh, Mahomes has so-and-so 10 yards in the flat. Oh, no, wait, he's lost the ball. Like there was at least 7 or 8 plays where he had a clear, wide open person and just either didn't see him, didn't feel comfortable making the throw. Like he is just not playing the level that he used to be at last year and the year before. I mean, he does not look good, and it hurts to watch a little bit because you're used to Mahomes, making all these throws, hitting all these open receivers, and he's just not.
Yeah, I think he looks panicked. He has happy feet in the backfield. You'll see, whereas like the pocket won't be collapsing, but he's immediately starting to roll out on a play where that's obviously not a designed rollout. And it's kind of crazy to watch. Like within 2 seconds, he'll suddenly be trying to avoid pressure that kind of isn't there. And that's the thing. And that's where you're then seeing he's having to improvise, and it's kind of selling his offensive line down the river in the sense that it makes them look bad because it looks as if they're not able to protect him. But in reality, he has moved away from the place they're trying to protect. And then also for his receivers, it means that they are instantly having to react to a quarterback who is now improvising a play. And that's part of what the Chiefs were so good at. But it's not useful when you're doing it all the time. I mean, their refusal to run the ball, though, is also crazy. I mean, the Giants just played 2 deep safeties all game and were daring the Chiefs to run the ball. And whenever the Chiefs ran the ball, they actually picked up 5-6 yards. And yet the Chiefs insisted on just having Mahomes drop back and try and throw it. I mean, I think the stat that I saw this morning was that the Chiefs had the 5th most successful run offense so far, but then their run tendency, they're 31st in the league in terms of actually calling run plays. Now, there's maybe an argument to be made that when you don't call as many, the sample size is smaller. So if you have someone pulls off a big run, then it makes the stats look better. But still, just, I don't get it. When you have Mahomes struggling, run the ball and also try and set up manageable second downs. It feels like every time you're watching them, they're 2nd and 10. Like that's it, a guarantee, basically.
Yeah, 3rd and 12.
And they got bailed out right on the drive that allowed them to go ahead in that game with the face mask call that wasn't a face mask.
Stupid penalty. Yeah. I mean, you can say that they weren't that lucky, but I honestly think they were very lucky to win that game. The only thing I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on is when the Giants had the ball with time left on that final drive, I knew they were not going to drive. The Giants are just one of those teams, and Daniel Jones is one of those QBs. I mean, I think he has like 2 or 3 career comebacks. But as soon as they got it, you're done.
That was,
and
before you do that was the crazy thing when Mahomes got the ball back and then with a go-ahead drive. I think it said he had 8 fourth quarter or overtime game-winning drives. And then when Daniel Jones got the ball, I think he has 3. I think it said 3 or 4.
3.
It's crazy, right? That Mahomes only has 8 and he has 3. Now the problem for Mahomes is they're usually ahead, so you don't get you don't have the chance to have the go ahead drive. But it is sort of crazy where you go like, well, Mahomes is way better, but they're kind of statistically having the same rate of comeback game-winning drives. That was a bit weird.
Yeah. No, I agree. But then the Giants are just one of those teams. There's not many now, I think, in the NFL that when you have 2 minutes left on the ball and you run your hurry-up offense, you can see almost any team being able to get in field goal range. It's unbelievable. I feel like every time we watch a game now and a team's down by 2, you see them instantly get 40 yards on 3 plays, and they're close to field goal range. With the Giants, it's like, oh, here's going to come a holding, a terrible pass in the middle for 2 yards, and then 2 terrible passes, and they're done. And it's exactly what happens. It's so pathetic to watch. So that, yeah.
But the other big talking...
They could have won that game. I mean, there was 2 interceptions that got called.
Well, here's the one thing. I hate... A lot of people were saying how lucky, both on social media and also the commentators in last night's game, kept being like Mahomes was lucky on the second interception. He knew it was a free play. Like, we have to stop.
See, now I've heard they were arguing that he did not.
He knew
on that one. It wasn't a deep ball. It was just like a 10-yard pass.
It was a terrible throw, but he knew it was a free play. I won't buy that he didn't know that. It was such an obvious instance of a player jumping too early, and the flag came out instantly. I just can't believe that he didn't know. But now we know that there's the Duca curse. I don't know if you've seen, Frank, but there is a curse that is emerging to rival that of your own. I don't know. Have you seen this?
Ooh.
This is the Manning cast curse. Every quarterback that so far has appeared on the Manning cast has lost the subsequent week.
Wow,
yes.
Really?
So far, it has taken down Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, and and then you can actually even throw in some non-quarterbacks. So Russell Wilson appeared in week 1 and then lost in week 2 to the Tennessee Titans. Travis Kelce appeared in week 1, lost week 2 to the Baltimore Ravens. Rob Gronkowski appeared in week 2, lost week 3 to the LA Rams. Matthew Stafford appeared in week 3, lost week 4 to the Arizona Cardinals. Tom Brady appeared in week 7, lost week 8 to the New Orleans Saints. And the week 8 guest this week was Josh Allen. So will Josh Allen, I think the Bills are the heaviest favorite of the week. Will Josh Allen be unable to end the Manning cast curse?
Oh, no. That's going to be my survivor pick, too. That kind of scares me.
Wow, that's really bold.
Boy.
Then. That is the Duca curse and the Manning cast curse combining on a single player. And not that I want this to happen, but
The world could end.
Josh
it's basic. I mean, that's just chaos theory.
Josh Allen should just bench himself and just, if he hears this, just sit this week out and wait for week 10.
Yeah. Well, at least I survived this week. My dad did not survive his survivor pick this week, and he told me to tell Sam he can shove the Bengals up his ass. So,
Oh dear.
he was not happy.
Yeah, this week actually also marked the 14-year anniversary of the first NFL game in London. Do you want to take a guess at
Was it
at which? Well,
who it was?
I'll give you an even more obscure one. Can you guess?
Jags?
Can you guess the player who scored the first ever touchdown in London? 14.
How many years ago? Frank
No.
Gore.
I'll give you a. I'll give you a clue.
What are the teams? Is it
I'll
Jags
give you a
and
better
who?
clue.
No,
His name has been mentioned on this podcast already. This episode. Yeah. Not in the history, not in the 150 episodes that we've done. But he will have been mentioned several times in the past, and he has been mentioned so far.
Tom Brady.
Nope. Sam, you want to guess?
what position?
Quarterback.
Manning.
Which one?
Peyton.
Well, I think the first game had the Giants in, so I'd say
It was
Eli.
Eli Manning. Scored the first ever touchdown.
I remember that.
Damn.
It's pretty good.
So it's Giants versus who?
Dolphins were the first game, weren't they?
Yes, I believe so.
Wow, Sam, you really know your London NFL knowledge.
It helps when you go.
They
They had
recap,
loads of stuff about
yeah.
it, like kind of around the stadium and that. Yeah, they do like a load of like. So I don't remember seeing it, but obviously the screen was showing like big plays at London games and stuff like that. And also, I remember it being a decent game at the time as well. Like, I think it was one of the better ones in terms of competitive fixtures that actually came over.
Yeah. Now,
if I know a franchise, it's London.
Now, Sam, you've obviously been pretty quiet on the episode so far. And maybe as we transition now into... So for both of you, a little bit of a quiz. But this is obviously, Sam, you have a little bit of an edge here. But obviously one manager in the Premier League lost his job this weekend. And got me thinking, which managers have had the most league points in the 21st century? This is not limited to the Premier League. This is a sort of European major leagues.
European major leagues, so
Italy,
any of
Spain,
the kind of Serie
Italy,
A,
Spain, France, Germany, England.
Okay. 21st.
Can I go first?
So I've got the top 10. See if you can successfully name someone who features in the top 10.
Ferguson.
Alex Ferguson is fourth on the list. 513 matches managed in the 21st century and 1,132 points. Now, it's pretty impressive that he is fourth on the list, considering he retired in 2013. So, samples, he has managed the second fewest number of matches of anyone in the top 10.
I mean, I've got to go Mourinho.
Mourinho is third on the list. Managed 561 matches and accumulated 1,194 points.
I'll go Sam's Arsenal.
Which manager?
As in, I
Wenger,
got the points.
Wenger.
Do you mean Sam's
second on the
Arsenal?
list. 702 matches.
Yeah. Oh, I'm crushing this.
1,381 points accumulated. So yeah, you've got 2, 3, and 4 so far.
I might only be able to think of like one more.
Well, Sam, you're 2-1 up right now. Sam's going to think of another one.
Klopp?
Jurgen Klopp is 6th on the list. 569 matches, 1,055 points.
That was my pick. Well, you know what? Wait. If Klopp's on it, I'm going to go Pep.
Yeah.
Pep is 5th on the list.
Oh!
With the highest points per game haul of anyone here, with only 453 matches managed, but 1,093 points. So he is not that far behind Ferguson. He will overtake Ferguson this year.
Trying to think of Serie A. Trying to think of like.
So you are missing number 1, number 7, 8, 9, and 10.
It's got to be someone for like, I don't know. What like Bundesliga?
Well, yeah, it's got to be Serie A we've missed and Bundesliga like Bayern Munich. I'm just trying to think of managers that were in the stretch, and Hitzfeld, no.
Would you two like me to give a clue?
So I have a guess, which means that we can have the clue later. Is it kind of one clue for the rest of them? Or
Yeah, I think one clue would give you probably
One
give
clue
you
to rule them all.
I think one clue would give you a couple.
so
Let Sam take his
I'm gonna,
guess, though.
yeah, let me take my guess. I'm gonna go Ancelotti.
So Carlo Ancelotti is number 1 on the list.
Oh,
with
nice.
It was
706 matches and 1,434 points.
hell of
So
a time at Everton.
He's managed the most number of matches of anyone on the list. Although the manager who's managed the second most, which is 705 matches, is 9th. Is 8th and yet to be named.
I'm toast now.
Let's have that clue.
So I will give you a clue in that one of them is a current Premier League manager.
So it has to be someone who predominantly managed elsewhere, though, in another league.
He has managed multiple clubs in the Premier League, has managed elsewhere, but a sizable chunk of his career has been spent in the Premier League.
I've got nothing. I'll cede to Sam at this point.
That's dangerous. I'm trying to go for every Premier League manager at the moment.
So I'll tell you, you're missing 4. 3 of them have managed in the Premier League. 2 of them are very famous. 1 of them is reasonably famous. I would be surprised if you get the one who hasn't managed in the Premier League. I'll say that. He is the only tough one.
That's good. We've got to go with Conte, right?
Not on the list.
Not on the
So,
list.
as you had 2 incorrect answers, I will give you the remaining missing ones. So you missed out on Rafa Benitez, who has 572 matches, 1,013 points. Claude Puel, who is the one who I thought was the one you're unlikely to get, which is 705 matches, so the second most, but only 1,008 points.
Who's he the manager for?
He's made his
French?
career in the French league. Yeah.
Okay.
He did manage Southampton and Leicester fairly briefly, but current manager Saint Etienne, and mostly managed in France. And then you have Claudio Ranieri, who 593 points, 998. 593 matches, 998 points, so just outside of the 1,000 club. And the final one is Manuel Pellegrini with 550 matches, 954 points. So former Manchester City and West Ham manager.
Yeah. Good list.
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned Conte there. He's the new manager of Spurs. They, after Spurs had a fairly tepid performance against Manchester United at the weekend, where I don't know if 3-0 was necessarily a fair reflection on the match, but certainly Spurs didn't really look like they were ever going to score. So they definitely deserve to lose. Another, impressive Ronaldo goal, even though I don't think it was an impressive Ronaldo performance. In a way, I feel sorry for Nuno, because I do feel 17 matches is a quick sacking. And he's kind of trying to implement the system that he had at Wolves, and you sort of knew what you were getting to some respects, and you needed to give him time to try and build that. And he's probably also not helped by the fact that Harry Kane looks like he wants no part. I mean, he looks totally short on confidence, and also doesn't really look like he wants to be there. So the fact that if they'd sold Kane, it might have changed what happened with Nuno and Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for Nuno as well because you knew exactly what he was doing at Wolves, right? It was very holding midfielder based. They weren't pretty, but it was extremely effective at what he was doing, and they built it around that. And then Spurs went through that bit of a kind of odd summer where they were trying to get, what was it, the Roma manager, um, who left before Mourinho came in, and then that fell through at the last second. And you just realize more and more that the Nuno hire felt like a fourth, fifth choice. And then they're surprised that after 17 games, the style and the methodology and the thought process behind it didn't work out. So I feel sorry in that respect. But then again, Nuno had the choice. Maybe, Kane was hugely central to that. Of course he was, but maybe Levy promised him stuff that he didn't deliver as well. I do, yeah. It's a bit of a weird one, but clearly then Nuno kind of approach wasn't working at Spurs. It wasn't galvanizing fans. They weren't believing in the project. Um, so uh, kind of let's see what Conte does. Really, I don't know if
But
he looks like the kind of manager that'll put the fire in the belly of someone like Kane.
maybe, I don't know. I don't know how you can only give a manager, like, they're ninth in the table, and yes, they've only scored 9 goals through 10 matches, so it's hardly been thrilling to watch. But they're also only 5 points off the top 4. Now, there's nothing to make you think that they're going to be able to they would have been able to sort of turn things around and get into the top 4. But there's also nothing to make you think that this was going to be a totally catastrophic season. I think they were going to end up finishing top half, but maybe missing out on Europe as like the worst case scenario under Nuno. And I just think from 17 matches, give a manager, also because joining mid-season now, you run the risk that Conte just isn't able to right the ship over the course of the next 21 matches or whatever it is, whatever's left. And as a result of that, well, 28 league matches, right, left. And as a result of that, he also kind of gets, you go through 2 managers when really it's the life cycle of one. That would be the concern for me.
Yeah, what happens with what happens with kind of what the immediate thing with Conte was that all the talk before that game was kind of whoever loses, the manager of the respective club will probably get sacked, and that wasn't necessarily true, but it was the thought process of going into that match. Like we were talking on the stag about the fact that actually we're talking about on the podcast as well, the idea that look, they would have put feelers out to Conte Manu about saying like, look, if we laid this in front of you, as in Conte's agent, would they accept it? Would they go for it? And do you get the feeling that it was so easy to get Conte that Manu said no, and Solskjaer was safe?
No.
Or do you think Conte would have waited for the Manu job
Wait,
a little bit longer?
Do you think so?
He
What you're
wants
saying
this
is
too much.
Yeah, like, hey, do you want this job? And if he responds the text message too quick, they're like, oh, he's way too eager. We don't need him.
No.
No. Honestly, this is such an insight into your mind, Sam. I think you've just revealed your own. You're like, hold on, if I want this too much, the person's gonna be put off by me wanting it.
No, but
That's
hey,
why you
want
don't
this?
respond to texts.
Yeah. Do you want
yeah,
this job?
you need people.
Maybe. Okay, this guy seems good. He's not
But
sure.
But my point is that look, Man U is like more glamorous job, or at least more high profile than the Spurs job. And I would have thought, given Kane's scenario, given the where Spurs are at the moment, Levy must have promised him a hell of a lot in the January transfer window to sort it. But in a way, I felt like Conte would have. I thought he was going to wait for the Man U job in a way. I thought he'd probably
But
told
he,
like Solskjaer's got a few more games, and then
but
now
what's
that
he? But
Spurs
but, but
sacked.
no. But the problem with that, Sam, is how long is he going to wait indefinitely? Because with that win over Spurs and then tonight's draw against Atalanta, so they're almost their qualification for the Champions League is entirely in their own hands. They could well win that group. They should win that group, okay, based on the fact that they have Villarreal and young boys left to play. But in the very least, they have to do something catastrophically bad to blow the position they're now in and not get through in the Champions League. What? When do you think Solskjaer is going to be sacked now? It's not going to be anytime soon. No. It has nothing. Take Conte out of the picture. If you're Conte and you're sitting there, and you've seen on Saturday that United have beaten Spurs 3-0, and then you have to assume every time Solskjaer wins a match, it probably buys him 5 more matches. So the only way it makes sense for Conte to sit this out is if the United job is the only one he wants. And then I guess the other big talking point for the Premier League was obviously City slipping up against Palace. And it's just surprising because it feels like every time City put themselves in a position to start to pull away from the rest of the pack, they then slip up. And so they sort of keep feeling as if they're going to be in that position where, after beating Chelsea, sort of they had that chance to really separate themselves from a couple of the teams in the mix, and then they lose a game you wouldn't have expected them to lose.
I mean, does it really affect your perception of them, considering people like Liverpool are playing? Well, they slipped up as well. But does it change your perception really at the top? Because it doesn't really do anything for me. I think ever since City had that start last season where they went through kind of 10, 12 games pretty poorly and then strung a pretty incredible run, I've never really had a problem with City losing like the occasional game. But does it change for you?
A little bit. I think my concern for them would be that Chelsea they are a better team than Chelsea. But I think what Chelsea are ruthless. They don't concede a lot of goals, and they are going to beat bad teams. So, if you look at, say, the non-top 6, I think Chelsea will beat the remaining 14 teams pretty much across the board, home and away. And the problem with City slipping up against these other teams, like losing to Spurs, losing to Palace, is you start to then put a lot of pressure on your games against the big teams. And what they're doing is they're removing pressure. So they're now 6 points behind, 5 points behind Chelsea. So you've given Chelsea at least one pressure-free match. Chelsea can now go through. Theoretically, Chelsea could tell themselves, we can afford to lose to City, and if we win the remainder of our games, we still win. Like, it is entirely in our hands. Now, that's easier said than done, and they're not going to do that. But you need to put the other teams in situations where they're playing tough matches. I mean, look, City are away to United this week. I expect
Yeah.
City to win, but United score goals, and they have a lot of players who can turn in big performances, and they've also had a knack of beating City at weird times in recent seasons. If City then lose that match, which wouldn't be a stunner, right? That Ronaldo and some other players put in big performances and United win, you could be 8 points behind. I mean, that's going to be that's, to me, I'll put it this way: if they're 8 points behind after the weekend, they're out of the title race.
Oh, I don't know. We've said this before when like Man City are 11 behind. I Spurs, Chelsea will slip up at some point. I don't know when. You can anticipate that slip up happening at some point. They're never going to go through the entire season with the kind of record of only conceding 3 goals every 10 games like they have at the moment. But I agree with you that this is the classic kind of Solskjaer style game where the victory could come, and it makes it much harder for Man City to kind of stop it. But for me, I'm still gunning for Man City. I don't really feel like I can mistrust them after kind of this slip up. In as much as I did last year when basically I checked out of them about 10 games in. So I don't think I'll make the same mistake again. But point taken, right? Chelsea have an easy game against Burnley. You very much expect to win there. Man City have like a classic slip up style game. Chelsea don't look like they're conceding; they look like they're scoring. So it looks really good for Chelsea at the moment. But then there's still Liverpool to contend with. There's still all of these teams playing each other in the formats.
That was going to be my question. Is you talk about Chelsea not conceding, but then in second you have Liverpool, who I think they lead the league, right, in goals.
Yeah, they're averaging basically 3 goals a match at the moment.
Yeah,
they've got 29.
Are you just
10.
disregarding them?
No, I'm not.
Well, they've drawn 3 of the last 5, despite scoring that many.
But this is where I disagree with Sam. If say City lose this weekend, they will be level on points with United. They will be 5 points probably. Say everything goes against them, they'll be 5 points behind Liverpool. Sorry,
they'll be level on points with Arsenal if Arsenal beat Watford.
Okay,
my next comment after we talked about this was, it's surprising we haven't heard about Arsenal sneaking up the table. But you know what? We fucking heard.
No, I'm not even going to bother saying that, because in the same way I wasn't going to say, they're going to be 3 points behind West Ham. Like, it doesn't even matter. But they would be, they could be on Sunday, they could be 8 points behind Chelsea, 5 points behind Liverpool, level on points with United. Yes, you can say, I can see Chelsea slipping up. But you start to get into a position where they can't slip up and they need everyone else to start slipping up. And that's, if it's one team you need to slip up, then maybe you can do that. If you start to need 2 or 3 teams to slip up, in a way they can, because they play each other at some point. So you would have said previously, when Chelsea play Liverpool, then we can just hope that Liverpool beat Chelsea. But in this scenario, it'll be like, whoever wins has done well. So there's kind of no good scenario for us here. If they lose to United this weekend, they're out of the title race. Assuming Chelsea and Liverpool win what look like winnable matches.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that I'm starting to think that 2 of the 3 relegation places are already sorted. I do honestly think Newcastle will go down the way they're playing at the moment, and the lack of...
I don't think you can say that. They're 6 points from safety, and they're going to spend money in January. So
until rumors about Emery going to them as well. Emery coming back to the Premier League.
Until that gap gets to around 10 points, it's not good for them, and they only have 4 points through 10 matches. So obviously, they're on course for a catastrophic season. And I think they probably will go down, but I certainly don't think you could just say now they are going down. Now, any other big talking points or stories from the last week or weekend?
I did see there was talk to go back to the NFL with Jameis Winston being injured. I saw that there was talk that either Drew Brees,
in the same way that I felt like I had to throw in the qualifier that Sam is actually gay when we were having that conversation. I think we have to throw in the qualifier that you do know that Jameis Winston's name is Jameis, just so that, again, we get new listeners every week and they don't think that we don't know the real name of an NFL quarterback.
I saw that they were questioning if they should bring someone in, and the potential candidates obviously are Cam Newton, who is now vaccinated and available, but also the return of Drew Brees, or what I think would be even better, the return of Phillip Rivers.
I mean, I can't see Drew Brees coming back. It's unimaginable. Not only because he looked so bad towards the end of last year, but also he's moved on to a new career. And why would you do it and risk that someone else... for example, he comes back and then Rivers takes his job. Rivers I can get because he's just coaching high school football, right? Like, he's...
and he's a psycho.
Yeah. and he might even convince himself. The other reason for Drew Brees to not do it is he's won a Super Bowl, so he knows that. I mean, the really annoying thing about him coming back is we'd then have to get those weekly graphics of him against Brady all over again.
Oh God, I can't do it again.
That
Week on week.
the race would be back on, but I could see Rivers talking himself into the fact that adding him to the Saints might make them Super Bowl contenders. I don't think it would, but that maybe he
Yeah.
needs one last go to try and get that Super Bowl ring.
He was asked on, I think, a talk show or something. He said, "You can't shut the door on anything. Although I'll stick by it's a super, super slim chance. If it takes a team to want you, first of all, it's got to be the right situation for our family." He then goes on to say, however, the Saints are a really good team. Coach Payton, what they've done over the years, it's been really good. They've been in the mix each and every year. So he could be tempted.
That's a come and get me plea, but I don't want to say anything too strong so that it's embarrassing when I don't get the call. That's what that was. That was, hey Saints, I would do this, but I'm not going to put my neck on the line so that it's embarrassing when you just decide to stick with, whatever other quarterback solution they can find.
And he's not far. He lives in Alabama now. That's where he's coaching his high school football team.
That must be an experience.
What, him as the coach or him in Alabama?
Both. But I mean, he's from Alabama, I think. But I think it would just be such an experience to have him as your high school football coach would just be so weird. It would be awesome. Potentially terrifying, but at least it's a crazy story. That's a story you can live off of for the rest of your life. Like that's your go-to.
And just the stories he could tell.
Yeah, but it's just your go-to bar story that every time you were meeting a new group of people, you'd be like, "Oh, Philip Rivers coached me in high school," and that would be.
It's kind of like
that's an hour of you two, you just talking.
Could be like the Roy Kent at when he was coaching that like young girls team. Like it would kind of have that kind of feeling to it of him just like screaming profanities at all of them.
Yeah, I think probably without the charm that Roy Kent kind of came across with in the show, but yes. Yeah, I mean the other thing too is right. He could have an entire football team just out of his children, so there's that aspect to it as well.
Speaking of Roy Kent, I sent you both a message over Halloween to check out Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent, his Instagram, because he was reposting all the Halloween pictures that people had put up that were him and Juno Temple. What's her name on the show? Oh boy.
It's hard to put us on the spot of. It's hard to put us on the spot of a show that I haven't now watched recently.
Keeley,
yeah.
And I don't know if you had the chance to look, but some of the costumes were done well, and you could tell who they were. Others were awful. Others, I wish Brett Goldstein were a little not aggressive, but just like more outspoken. Like I feel like Ryan Reynolds, if it were Ryan Reynolds, he would have made comments as he reposted them. But Brett Goldstein kind of just put them up. It would have been funny if he was like, "This costume's fucking shit," or something like that, like on one of each, because some of them were just so bad.
Yeah, they weren't great, but yeah, a couple were decent. I mean, it's not a hard costume to nail, right? It's just the beard, the dark hair, throwing a black t-shirt and jeans, and maybe a leather jacket or whatever it is he wears, and you're good to go. It's not.
If you just do the beard, you know, like the fake beard that he has. Yes, perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, a couple of them were good. I'm not a big Halloween fan. I'm glad.
That seemed to be the most popular choice, though, was Ted Lasso costumes. I saw a lot of Ted Lasso costumes.
Yeah, again,
another easy one, just a visor, a mustache.
Yeah,
and the sunglasses
and a whistle around your neck, and a polo.
Difficult.
Yeah.
Oh, that was going to be my question. Were there people dressed for Halloween in London when you went out on Sunday to watch the matches?
Sunday we saw a couple on the train. We saw more
Few
people
people.
on the Saturday night when we were out. Yeah, you saw people in the pub we went to and stuff. There were a decent percentage of people dressed up.
All quite generic, classic ghouls, classic. I thought
Skeleton.
I'd see more people as in the kind of Squid Game one. I thought the Squid Game one was going to be
That
massive.
was, I think, the most popular. Yeah, at least in the
I
States, I
didn't.
think that was like the most
I
popular.
mean, the thing is, Sam, there's not a lot of Asian people in the West Country of England, so it just made it a little bit harder for everyone.
What you could really invest in it.
Speaking of which, maybe as a final topic.
Uh-oh, where's this going?
It's the famous "I'm not racist," but
Asians,
sentiment.
am I right? But no. Speaking of being in the West Country, where they obviously have a unique accent, for American listeners who aren't familiar, go ahead and look it up. I mean, the easiest way to describe it is it's the sort of base of the pirate accent that you would think of if you think of the traditional Hollywood pirate portrayal. That is the kind of the accent that it's coming from. People were very intrigued by my accent. And I think we've gained a couple of new listeners as a result, just purely based on the fact that they wanted to hear me speak. And Frank, I think we can maybe, if this podcast hasn't really taken off, if we're not Joe Rogan within the next, say, 12 months, I think we move to the West Country and we become radio broadcasters there. I think we'll be all right.
I like that idea, except I don't even know what's over there.
Not a lot. But at one moment, for example, we were in the pub and I asked for if I could have some darts to go and, because there was a dartboard and to play. And the woman working just said, "Say that again." And then made me repeat
Say
it.
that again.
And then I laughed and then gave me the darts. But yeah, people were, and it's one of those classic things. If you're kind of in a place, obviously, not a lot of, I guess, foreigners are going to. And so not only do they notice that you speak differently, but they're also intrigued as to why you're there.
All right, let's give it a go. Let's skip the races and go there instead. Start like signing autographs.
Well, I think if we're going to do our first ever, when we do our first ever live episode, even though we might not have a decent number of listeners there, maybe we just try and book a venue in that area and just sell it on the come and listen to foreigners speak.
The foreigners.
And it will be
It's
sold
American
out.
and Englishman and a hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that note, I guess if you're one of the people who got converted by the accent, welcome. And make sure to follow us on social media.
All right. Well, with that, I guess I'll talk to you boys later.
See ya.
Cheerio.